Who will our next generation be? What will they achieve? At Proctor Public Schools, we create an environment to educate, engage, and inspire our students to seek adventure, gain knowledge, and make a difference. Proctor Public Schools. We see greatness in our students and great things for their future. We educate, engage, and inspire.
All right. We'll call to order the regular school board meeting of December 13th, 2021. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay.
No, still doing it.
When you're ready, Lynn, go ahead with the roll call.
If it gets weird, I'll have to switch to paper.
Yep, that's fine.
McDonald.
Here.
Parmeter.
Here.
Peterson. Here. Paquinitz.
Here.
Podgornik. Shelton. Ward.
Here.
Student liaison members. Can you hear me? Sydney Hadrick. Sophia Morin Swanson. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda is an approval of the agenda as presented in your packet. We're looking for a motion.
So moved by Amy.
There's a motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second, Parmeter.
Thank you very much. Any questions regarding our agenda tonight? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? And that motion carries. Number 5 is an approval of the minutes of the regular school board meeting from November 22nd, 2021. Looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
So move, Joe.
Thank you very much, Joe. Is there a second?
Second by Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions regarding those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed? And that motion carries. We'll move on to the finance report. This motion will include approving the payment of bills dated December 13th, 2021 in the amount of $295,977.31, covering checks 111493 through 111674, and also to approve the electronic transfers and payrolls for November 2021. Electronic transfers in the amount of $600,000 and payrolls in the amount of $1,634,614.07. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
There's a motion by Lynn. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Parmeter.
Thank you very much. Any questions from anyone regarding our finance report tonight? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed? And that motion carries. We'll move on to commendations and congratulations. The board would like to congratulate Lily Orman, 11th grade, for being selected as a youth representative to the Hermantown Chamber of Commerce. We'd like to commend and congratulate board members Lynn Peterson and Jennifer McDonald for being recognized from the Minnesota School Boards Association Awards Program for attaining the Director's Award from MSBA for 2021 through 2022. The board would like to commend Steve Anderson, Amber Lowell, Patty Meir, Robin Hansen, Deborah Billman, and the auditors from Whipfley for their excellent work preparing and the completion of our audit. The board would also like to commend the Proctor High School Band, their directors Gordy Westendorf and Katie Sandor, as well as our cheer squad and their advisors, Stephanie Wrench and Kaylee Towers, for their outstanding performance at the Christmas City of the North Parade. And finally, the board would like to commend PAHA for their hard work with our arena and getting our outdoor rinks flooded for the season. Are there any other commendations or congratulations that we should make before the end of the year? Okay, thank you. Then we will move on to public participation. The school board meeting is a meeting that occurs in the public. It is not a public meeting. The public participation portion of our meeting is a time where we offer an opportunity for members of the public to address the board. Once we move from public participation, members of the public will no longer be allowed to address the board. As a general rule, the board will listen to members of the public but will not comment on or respond to any comments made by speakers. The board will not engage in dialogue, though any board member may ask questions. Please do not include the names of Proctor Public School employees, students, their title, or building location in your remarks for your own legal protection and the legal rights of our staff. Issues related to school district employees can be made in writing and can be directed to the Human Resources Department at Proctor Public Schools. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Speakers may not roll their time to another speaker. Please begin your presentation by stating your name, including the spelling, and who you represent if applicable. In the spirit of fairness to all participants, we request that you respect this format. Thank you for taking the time today to attend this meeting and to share your concerns. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to address the board? Gina.
Hi. Would you like me to spell my name? Okay. I'm going to do this without crying, so here I go. I wanted to take some time to say thank you for the opportunity to work in Proctor Public Schools. I'm not doing well so far. I began my career in Proctor after teaching in Burnsville for 8 years. My first experience in Proctor was at the lovely school of Caribou Lake. At first, I did not appreciate the quaint location where all 6 of us ate lunch together in the upstairs apartment or the country environment. To say the least, it was quite a culture shock from the very diverse and fast-paced environment that I'd been used to. Looking back, I realize now the magnitude a small community can have on the success of a school. I might need help, Diane. My time in Proctor has had its ups and downs. I have taught 5th grade, team taught with amazing teachers, been an instructional coach, a reading specialist, and experienced the urgency of the school improvement process. And lastly, the director of curriculum and learning. I've learned that I cannot make everyone happy, as you all probably are aware, and the power of learning goes far beyond the walls of a school. People will point out my faults in public meetings while I silently celebrate my successes. My goals throughout my career have always been to make an impact and help others realize the impact that they have on others around them. Words and actions speak volumes about who you are and what you see as important. We all have a chance to make an impact, and you get to decide what impact you want, whether positive or negative. I've worked to empower those around me to see that they have leadership potential. Creating processes and procedures that keep students at the center has been very important to me. I'm positive that the students have all the answers if you just get into every challenge, if we were just to provide them with every opportunity, support, and resources to solve them. Proctor has amazing students, staff, and families. And I hope you, as a school board, see the potential in Proctor. We're moving forward and very quickly. I hope you can continue to keep learning at the center of every single decision you make. Just because it's been done for the last 20 years does not mean it's what's best for kids. We all need to continue to learn and grow, monitor what is happening, and put the right systems in place to make Proctor even stronger. The world is changing. Our students are changing. And we need to challenge ourselves to change along with them, to change what learning looks like, and to support the potential of every single student. no matter their IQ, their race, their home life, their sexual orientation, or their political outcomes. Proctor has provided me with mentors, friends, and colleagues that have become my family. Along with many lessons I continue and will bring forward with me as I move on. So thank you for all your support.
Thank you, Gina.
I did it.
Wow, thank you. I still remember 5th grade with you as my son's teacher and how blessed we were. Thank you. And those blessings continued. Is there anyone that would like to address the board during public participation? Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in your packet.
So moved by Amy.
There's a motion by Amy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lynn. Any questions regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 And those opposed? And that motion carries. Item number 10, items for individual action. A, 2021 through 2022 Truth in Taxation Meeting, the presentation by Business Manager Steve Anderson. And this motion will be to then approve the 2022 levy of $5,370,050.56. We'll start with the motion.
So moved by Amy.
There's a motion by Amy. Is there a second? Again,
Second that, Joe.
thank you, Joe. Okay, Mr. Anderson.
Many of you have seen this presentation or something very similar. So there are things that I'm going to kind of go a little faster on, things that I'm going to go a little slower on, and I'm going to point out some very specific things this year that are a little bit different. So everybody has a heads up. Do realize from a public standpoint, the public is invited to participate in this process. That's a required part of truth in taxation. So I know you've had public comment. There is an opportunity during truth in taxation for public comment. There's three primary parts of this truth in taxation presentation. First of all, we're going to talk about the 2022 levy and review what that looks like. So that's what's up and coming. Then we're going to talk about the 2021 and 22 revenue and expenditures. And that's what we're living right now. And then there'll be a time for questions and comments. I'm going to encourage everybody, ask your questions as we go. Don't wait until the end. The 2020, as you recall, every year I just kind of put together some notes as it relates to the levy. And I carry the previous years forward. So I just add a line on top. So you can kind of review what we've done over the last several years. The important parts of this levy is, first of all, it's 1.63%. That's the lowest that's the lowest increase it's been since 2019. So that of 1.63 is a very comfortable percentage. We're very happy with that. The other thing, and you'll see it demonstrated several places in here, is if you look at your proposed property tax statement, or as the citizens look at their proposed property tax statement, they're going to see, if they look at it by line item, it looks pretty unusual. The voter-approved levies went down considerably, and the non-voter approved went up considerably. They balance themselves out, so it ends up being 1.63%. The reason that that happened, and I'll demonstrate it as we continue on, is because we're paying off our OPEB bonds this year. That's a non-voter approved. But we wrapped it around our other debt so our levy didn't go sky high. So we're trying to keep our levy level, but it looks unusual. Next year, you're going to see exactly the opposite. The voter approved is going to go up, and the non-voter approved is going to go down, except next year it's going to be amplified because we don't have any OPEB bonds. So we're taking not only the difference out, we're taking the original payment out as well. So it's going to really swing next year, and you're going to hear me talking about it again. Some of you have heard me talk about this. This is worth saying real quick again. And I added this slide in just to try and make it really clear. In my life, I work in 3 different years. Right now I'm working in fiscal year 21. I'm working in calendar year 21. I'm in fiscal year 22. And we're passing the levy for calendar year 22, which will be our fiscal year 23. So it's very confusing. Our district office works in 3 years, depending on what we're talking about all the time. This is what our levy components are, our major levy components. And this is our 2022. And what I'd really like is look at the lilac colored one, or the whatever, lavender, whatever, and the OPEB. You'll see it's 16.51% and 20.63%. Remember those 2% as we go on to the next slide. Last year, this is last year's, which was 30 and 7%. So 30 and 7% adds up to 37%. The 16 and the 20 they add up to 37% as well. It's just a very different mix. So it looks unusual. It makes sense. It's very strategic. We did right. It just looks weird. You're going to see it demonstrated again here on this slide. You see your debt service voter approved went way down, your OPEB went way up. It's the exact same, it's just demonstrating it on a different graph. Overall, you can see our levy just went up slightly on the far right at 1.63%. So our levy is increasing by $86,000. This is a breakdown of net tax capacity other. You guys have seen this quite often, but you can see that we're moving around. The ice arena's levy's up again. We're still seeing the effects of COVID and the expenses and some of the revenues that are down because of that. Career and tech is up a little bit. We're spending more money in career and tech. Long-term facilities is down, and lease levy's down a little bit. The lease levy is down because of how we financed Pike Lake when we did the refunding in 2020. And our goal with that was to try and save some money in the general fund. Questions thus far? This is a comparison to some of our adjoining and regional districts. Now, the one thing that this doesn't tell us is what the mill rate is, which is what percentage of a $100,000 home goes towards, what percentage of your taxes goes to, how you're taxed based on percentage. That's not available until after everybody sets theirs, and this happens to have several different counties involved in it, so it's going to be a little bit challenging. But I think I am going to chase that down because I want to see it. It's not really fair to compare ESCO to Proctor with one building, et cetera, but I'd like to do it when you look at the tax capacity, and there's lots of other numbers that we can look at. But just so you know, Hermantown is doing more than we are. St. Louis County is. Lake Superior is, right there with us. This is all of the districts in the region with the exception of Duluth and International Falls. This is our ARC region that we work with a lot. Proctor's almost dead in the middle. We got to be happy with that. Floodwood went way down. Floodwood did pass a referendum. That's not reflected here. So Floodwood isn't going down by 32%.
I was going to say, they do.
Okay? But this was prepared before they passed their stuff, and that's
Okay.
the way we look at it. I think that's the only one that's impacted that way. Again, and this is, you guys have all seen this slide, the legislature sets what our levy abilities are. In principle, everything should work, but the problem is the state hasn't given us, the last several years, has not given us enough money on the basic formula to keep up with inflation. If you base it on 2023 where we had the big fix, and that's Jesse Ventura, big fix. You heard me say that probably last year is the last time you heard me say it. We should be dealing with about $7,206 from the state in 2021. We are dealing with 65, 67 in 2021. So we are not keeping up with inflation. We have to work smarter, and we're just doing the best we can.
There it is.
We can be excited. We have finished the discussion of this upcoming levy, unless there's questions with respect to it, we can come back. And for those of you that don't realize, part of the motion was we had to have some fireworks in this, so I want to make sure I did my part. Our payable 2022 levy, that's 19% of what our expenditures are. The last 2 years, it's been 20%. So we're seeing that percentage decrease just a little bit, and I think if you look when it plays out at the end, it'll actually be lower than that because we haven't budgeted, because we've got some COVID funds coming in yet that we'll have to make some decisions on. So it's not a big change, but realize that our local taxpayers are paying under 20% of our total school district bill. Revenues by source code. You'll see local revenue, state and federal. Federal's $2 million, just over $2 million. I can tell you in 2022, we brought in $1.8 million in food service alone. So that $2 million for federal funding sources, once we get COVID and everything else in, you'll see that increase, I would expect. But as we put together the budget and we did our adopted budget, this is what we're working with. Other local sources, fees, other revenues, the home sale, things like that. We bring in $2.3 million in other sources. That would include local grants, things such as that. This is gonna haunt me. Oh, sorry, got ahead of ourselves.
That's okay. It was nice to see it again, just to
Nope,
liven
that's
it up
the
a
end.
little bit.
That's the grand finale. That's the end. As we look at our expenses, let me go back one more. This is our expenses by program code. If you look at this one, this elementary, secondary instruction, vocational education, special education instruction, this is all instructional expenditures. That's where we should be spending our money. They're specifically categorized that way. That you take those, plus then you go to instructional support services, That's where we should be putting our money, and that's where you're spending it. And you can look at that by percentage if you'd so desire. This is looking at our expenditures a different way. It's by what we're spending them on. The 100 category is salaries and wages. The 200 category is employee benefits. Those are our two biggest categories. It shows 7.3%, but if you start taking out things like debt service and capital expenditures, that's where our money is being spent. That's where our operational money is being spent. It's on the people. It's education. We need to spend it. Our teachers and our staff are the important people of the district. They're our front line with students. You know, yes, Gina as curriculum director, she spends some money. Diane as principal spends some money on supplies and things like that. That's a very, very minuscule part of our budget. That doesn't mean keep spending it. But really, if we ever get into budget cuts and things like that, you know, at different times we said we're going to save 10% on supplies. Well, if you save 10% on supplies, it's very, very small. You're going to be impacting people if we get into a budget cut situation. Right now we're fine for 23. I think we'll be fine for 24. We have to be careful though, because right now we're spending some COVID money. 24 is where the cliff could come, and we're doing the best we can. John is doing the best he can. I'm assuming his successor will try and do the same to try and make sure that cliff is minimized. Questions on this? Profiles? Yes?
Question is, comparatively amongst other districts, how aligned are we as far in the profiles with districts of like size?
You'd have to clarify profiles has a lot of different categories.
Questions, you know.
If you're asking me how are we overall budget wise,
let's just say, let me pick one number, and I'm putting you on the spot, and that's
Yep.
okay. Let's just say administration and district support services, those together. If we were to look at profiles comparatively with,
I'd have to look.
okay,
Admin, I would say we're probably about in the middle.
okay,
One of the things you have to look at when you look at, for example, admin is a classic example. If you compare us to ESCO, for example, ESCO has one school.
correct.
We run 3 schools. Hermantown has a much more condensed campus. We don't. So it impacts it a little bit. We're not out of the ballpark.
Okay,
Support services, I don't know the answer to that. I just haven't looked specifically. And we can grab that anytime.
sure, thank you.
Okay? It's a good question. Other questions? Grand finale. We can be excited. It's another year of truth in taxation. Realize that we're setting the levy for calendar year 22. So this is what our property tax payers will pay next year. It is for our fiscal year 23. So they'll pay it next year, but that means we won't start spending that money until July 1st of 2022. We haven't set the budget for that yet. That'll be something that we'll be doing, come June. Questions, comments? And at this point, we need to invite any public participation that anybody would like to participate and say something.
Anything from our public regarding truth in taxation tonight?
And I would encourage our viewing public, anybody else, if you have questions, pick up the phone, call John, call myself, we'll get you the answers.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, with a motion and a second, are there any further questions regarding the presentation that Steve gave us? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? That motion carries. 10B, accept a recommendation from Superintendent Engelking to increase teacher substitute pay from $125 per day to $160 per day, effective January 3rd, 2022. This is in response to market trends. Looking for a motion.
So moved by Amy.
There's a motion by Amy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lynn. John, do you want to just give an update?
Like every employer across the nation, we're struggling trying to find employees. We're struggling trying to find especially substitutes. That's in our non-certified staff as well as our certified staff, our teaching staff. And so schools around us have raised the rates. We used to do this collaboratively, so there wouldn't be some kind of where you at? We're at the point where we are. We're at the point where we need to do something to make sure that our vacancies are filled, and that we can continue to conduct class and continue to carry on school as we know it. And so we can't be competitive if we're $25 a day less. So I'm recommending that we go to 160. I know that's a big jump, but it might cause things to trickle around, and there might be another day when we come back and it gets to be a little bit more. But I think 160 is probably the level at which you will stay for quite a while.
Is the rate for retired teachers, it used to be higher? Is that higher, or is it 160 for everybody?
I would.
Can you repeat that question?
Lynn?
Lynn wanted to know if retired teachers coming in were making a little bit more, and I can't remember if they were or not. Some schools are. Do you remember?
I thought they were.
They were at one point. I don't know that they are now, and
Okay.
I don't know if this not 100% on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Okay.
I think that this is the rate.
Okay.
I can find out. I'll
Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause I know it used to be different.
it did. I think that the last increase, I think
That didn't carry forward.
I think at the last increase, I think that wiped that out,
Okay.
but we would need to check that.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members?
Yes, if I could, Madam Chair. Is this the same rate that other area schools are,
we'd be ahead
would be ahead? Okay, thank you.
by $10 a day.
Good. Okay.
I guess that leads to my next question. Is that enough? I mean,
Yeah,
and we can
mean,
reevaluate this in a few months if needed, sort of thing? We can reevaluate this in a few months?
Yes.
Because it's competitive and we need, that's a tough job, substitute teacher. So, especially in the environment right now. So, okay, thank you.
Anything else to add? All right, with a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed? And that motion carries. Item number 10C, approve the first reading of suggested district policy changes. There are quite a few. They include Policy 203, the order of the regular school board meeting. Policy 206, public comment in school board meetings and complaints about persons at school board meetings and data privacy considerations. Policy 401, equal employment opportunity. Policy 422, policies incorporated by reference. Policy 509, enrollment of non-resident students. Policy 534, student meals. And Policy 604, instructional curriculum. This is the first reading of the policies. They've been included in your packet with red line changes. Anything specific to add? We'll go with a motion and a second. So is there a motion?
So moved, Joe.
There's a motion by Joe. Is there a second?
Second by Amy.
Thank you. Any questions or things that we want to just touch on, Lynn, at all from policy?
I don't, I think they're pretty
Yeah.
straightforward in the packet.
Agreed. So let us know if you have any questions, and we'll bring it back for a second reading in January. As far as this first reading goes, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. We'll move on to items for discussion and information. We'll start with the superintendent update from John.
Hi, everyone. This is the last meeting in December. December 13th. Counting this day, there are 13 days left until Christmas. So there you go. And it's coming kind of fast. So this is last week before our break. And so it's kind of exciting in our halls. And I think people are looking forward to the break, especially as we look at the infection rates and the like. And so I'll just talk a little bit about curriculum instruction. We have renewed our 5-year commitment to Starbase. There's no tuition there, and that's one of the programs that Diane was very instrumental in bringing to our district, and it continues to be a super successful STEM project for our 5th graders. We're planning on interviewing for our new Director of Curriculum and Learning this week. In fact, interviews are set for this building. On Wednesday, December 15th, we have 4 candidates that we'll be interviewing, and we're excited at their qualifications, and it'll be an exciting time, I think, for all of us to start to look at the future and where we go when Gina's not here. And luckily, we have Gina for another almost month to help guide that transition. I met with Ed Connect. They do coaching and workshops, so we're trying to think about ways that we might be able to utilize them. Bayview Elementary is running a new program, helping students in the morning. It's part of our extended day. It's called Breakfast Club, and that's going along really well. Elementary teachers are also looking at new curriculum that's coming out, and one of those new curricular areas is science and science standards. And then last but not least, principals at Bayview are noticing that collaborative classroom, which is our ELA curriculum that we rolled out a few years ago, has increased the amount of time in which students are writing, and that's really, really important. So we're excited about the gains that we're seeing with collaborative classroom. As far as management and leadership, and this is a little bit of a change, you'll notice that on your agenda, the discussion of COVID has just been moved to my superintendent update. So I'm just going to capsulize everything, in my update. So we had a number of administrative meetings. One of those was a meeting with our health department staff regarding para coverage, dealing with our nurses and how we handle some of the caseload that we have. The other meeting was one that dealt with exposure notifications and contact tracing. And that was brought to RailSafe, and it's probably the biggest part of the conversation in RailSafe. How do we notify our staff and make it a manageable process? So we were, and this living document, this RailSafe Return to Learning plan that we brought forth, things change. I mean, with the health guidance that we get, or lack of it, or just what we know about science. And we were sending notifications anytime a positive COVID notification was brought forth. We'd send notifications home to families and to all of our staff. there were times where we might have 3 kids positive at the high school. One in the morning, one in the afternoon, and maybe one later one even later in the evening when the staff went home. So we were sending these exposure notifications. It really got to be a lot of work, and it was kind of troublesome and concerning to parents. Understanding that as we learn to live with COVID in our classrooms and in our world, we recognize the fact that we're going to have COVID around. And so if we have a case in the morning, we'll send a notification out to our staff. We want to send another notification out and another notification out and another notification out those same days. So we've contracted how many COVID notices that we send out. In fact, if you get a COVID notification midweek, you might not get one, even if there is one again on Friday. But we will continue to send notifications on close contact. If you were deemed to be in close contact with someone who was positive, we'll continue to send those out every single time. And so that was the lion's share of our discussion at Railsafe, and I think we all left there understanding a lot more about COVID and feeling a little bit better about the science with which we, bring forth in our schools and what we learn about. The other thing that we talked a little bit about is vaccinations. The 2 clinics that we had here. Our first clinic, we had 42 kids, families, come and get vaccinated. And the last clinic we had last Thursday, I think it was Thursday, we had 55 students get vaccinated. And that's not counting how many kids get vaccinated, on their own at the clinics or at other vaccination sites. So those are the young'uns, the kids in elementary school. So we continue to promote vaccines. What we'd really like to see is 80 or 90% of our students being vaccinated. From my perspective, our way out of this is to vaccinate our way out. And until then, we'll continue to mitigate and be smart about understanding COVID. Any questions about that? We do have a new web page and ThrillShare that went live. There are a number of things that didn't migrate the way we would have liked. I'm in constant contact with Aptigee. They are a service-oriented company that has responded to us pretty vigorously. I have a meeting again on Wednesday, I think, talking about dining. We're looking at 5 different schools that have a little bit different look that we probably want to roll into our website. One of the things that we have to remember is that as we migrate all this information over, our model for managing website, we don't have a webmaster who controls the website. Every single school runs their website. Everybody is assigned to a different portion of it. And so those individuals in those schools really need to be on top of things and to control and make sure that they're changing things and that they're moving things and updating files and documents the way they need to be. A case in point is our district policies. They got migrated over, but all jumbled up. So we've had to take those policies and put them back in order. And it's just going to take a little bit. We're confident, and I'm confident that by the first part of January, our webpage will be much more manageable. It's like where's the menu? Where are the menus at? Well, now menus are called dining, and so it's just going to take a little bit of time to understand that. Oh, I go to dining. I get it. We're starting to push things to our app a little bit differently. If you haven't downloaded the app, you should. Get rid of the old one and get the new one. And so it's a little bit of a growing pain that we're all dealing with, but I think we're all going to like it. You know, we always talked about create once, publish everywhere. With Apt2G, we can do that. We can send something to a live feed, it publishes out to our app and into our website immediately, and it keeps things very, very current. Normally, you know, a web page will just be a static place, a front door to your school, to your business. What we want our web page to be is a place that is active and up to date. And if you look at live feed, you don't want to see like 10 days ago this was posted. You know, that's the last thing that we want to do, and that makes all of our principals and superintendents and Lori and everybody who puts bits of information up there to make sure that we're doing that. And it just makes people more cognizant of the fact that this web page really needs to be a vibrant, growing, living place that people feel comfortable with. It's just going to take some time, but you'll like it. I'll send you some. I'll send you I'll send you several different schools that have Apt2G as their website, and you can look and say, John, I really like what Wichita Falls does or whatever. You know, can we do that? So I'll send that out to the board. Thrill Share is what we use to create the content. You're looking for Proctor Public Schools. It's just a download. You can there's some QR codes and some posters here that you can just take a picture of and download. We had a meet and confer with Local 66 leaders and their field agents to talk about a number of things, including health notifications and insurance premiums. We didn't follow the contract quite up to snuff when it comes to dental insurance for Local 66, and we didn't know that. We should have been giving everybody $10 and towards dental, and it wasn't written into their insurance, but their contract says that they get the same insurance that other bargaining unit members get. So we need to backtrack a little bit and take care of that. And I apologize on behalf of the board. I did attend a meeting of Northeast Service Cooperative Board of Directors. Our administrative team is reviewing SMORE, and that's the newsletter that gets sent out by our principals. I used to use it, but I lost a bunch of newsletters a few times. It's very interesting when we meet with these folks. The sales team work out of London. So when you zoom in, the two women who run the sales team are in London. They've got this, British accent and stuff. It's amazing. So we're at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're 7 hours later. Just before 4 o'clock. Our administrative team also attended some hangout meetings. Those are the meetings run by Gina. They're really learner-based. We met with health officials and our music department to talk about what we're going to do with music and concerts. It's kind of a concern. The last time we had a concert, and the projections of what our band concerts were going to be is that we'd have 800 people in our auditorium. And with the rate of infection, we decided to do live concerts videoed with Ted and then broadcast them. So I know no one was really happy about that, but we think it was in the best interest of everyone. Continue to meet with superintendents regionally. It's always interesting. Everybody has the same problems. Misery loves company, I guess. It's one reason I like to go to those things. Attended Northern Lights special education cooperative meetings, and as well as a a policy meeting. I just want to talk a little bit about facilities. PAHA, big thanks to PAHA, and they're keeping our outdoor rinks flooded. Now we're going to have rain, really. Anyway, then it's going to get really cold. I don't know what that does to ice, but it can't be good. Randy Schmidt, Isaac, and Steve Anderson met with Jamar to review our HVAC installation progress at the secondary site. Steve does a great job in leading that. We're currently advertising and looking for candidates to fill custodian positions, and we're interviewed today and tomorrow, Steve? Today and tomorrow. And then I just want to thank Tanya Kessler for being out on the roads well before 4 o'clock in the morning the last time we had snow. She called me at about 3:30. She goes, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I think it's Solway. Anyway, I appreciated that. We're also partnering with St. Luke's again on our flashing safety lights. So we're bringing those back again. And then last but not least, MASA meetings on equity continue, and those are ongoing meetings. And there's a lot of information. So there you go, if you have any questions.
I just have one, John. For the meet and confer with Local 66, do they require board representation at
No,
those?
They
Okay.
never have.
Okay.
Their meet and confer meetings, they just want to talk with the field agents, and they wanted to speak with Steve,
Sure.
food service, and they wanted to speak with me.
Okay.
And we've had meet and confers very often.
Sure. No, I just was just curious. It's my contract, so I just want to make sure that if I was supposed to be there, that I should have been there, but I don't need to. So that's okay.
Yeah, it's just a little different.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Thank you.
I have one thing. I was going to wait till board comments, but being that it's in here, I understand why we did what we did with the holiday concerts. What I will say is I guess it's not showing equity in our education in the sense that we are allowing some activities and sports to continue, but not the band concert or the choir concert. You know, those kids and those teachers worked months just for those 1 or 2 events. Is there something, and Steve, maybe this is putting you on the spot, but is there something with COVID funds that we could rent a place that would allow us to have those, or to space out people? Or could we look at, Diane, I'm just going to pick on you because you're there, where the middle school or the elementary school kind of broke out the grades? I know that's not ideal, but I do think for these students, there is something that they learn from going and presenting in front of people, and I get, and I know we'll be doing this next year, because as just kind of the trend, if you look at COVID, the way it spikes, it probably will spike again towards the end of next year, and it just might be nice to have a plan or start thinking about something. So that's why I asked Steve if there's a fund or something that could cover like a renting a place, or breaking, I don't know, or limiting the number of people coming in.
I think the answer to your question is if we plan far enough ahead, we could probably figure something out with some COVID funds. You know, we'll not spend them on something else we would spend it on, but
I guess I'd like...
It's not something we can make a decision and
Right.
say next week we want to do this.
Right, yeah, I know. That's why I'm bringing it up now, to like look at the future, because I think we will do this.
Point well taken.
Yeah. So, and that way, I like to see my kids up there too. And I'm sure there's parents that like to see their kids get all dressed up. I mean, if you have boys and your kids are getting dressed up, you're just happy to see them dressed up. But I think it's good. I think it's educational for them too to present, So I understand the position we were in this year, but I would request that we look forward to next year to possibly just plan that we're going to have to. Because if you look at, we only have 2 years of data, but it spikes around now. And that would help us give all of the kids the experience that they're supposed to have here while attending. So that's all I wanted to bring up about that.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Where are they going? Yeah.
Okay, and that, like, I hope you understand what I'm saying. I just want the kids to have that experience too. But we have to probably look at it differently for next year too. Just, I don't see it changing. I mean, this is our new norm. So just, like I said, I knew we'd have to plan, so that's why I asked if there's like a COVID grant or fund out there that, I mean, you're asking them to pay for a rent of a place, but really you're paying for the rent of the place because we don't have the right air quality. So it is related to COVID.
Yeah.
We could make the argument that the argument is not a problem.
Okay.
We're going to take it away from something else.
Turn on your mic though.
We're going to take it away from something else we'd spend our money on. But yeah, we can, I think you bring a great point forward.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and Amy, you're 100% right. It's called the performing arts. And performance is at the heart of what that is. And so all the work these kids do is the culmination of the public performance. And so we don't take that lightly.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right.
Yeah.
And I was just going to talk about Weber and
Yeah, and I think too with the the teachers there, the band, the music teachers in general, this is something too that they work hard. They like to see their kids get there, and then they want to show that. So that would give them the opportunity too to get the recognition they deserve. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Good point, Amy. Thank you. Anything else regarding the superintendent update that you'd like to have more discussion on?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions if I could. The notification per building for COVID, and I understand exactly what you're saying about message after message after message. However, if the message could be we had X number of cases this week in building X, we have employees that are concerned of an outbreak, and do they stay working? And I think we owe it to them to let them know what's happening in their particular building. So as we progress through this notification thing, I hope we keep that in mind.
Yep.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk about at that Rail Safe meeting, was there any discussion about masking here in this particular building?
Yeah,
I brought that to you.
There was, Joe. We mentioned that at this site, what happens is, like many venues that deal with ice hockey, is that you come in, required mask, you go into the arena area, if you will, and then you take your mask off, and it's part of the excitement of the game. We see it at UMD. You walk in and mask required. You go into the arena itself, and then there's 80%, 70% of people take their masks off, yell and scream, and part of the thing. I mean, it's like all of the big events that we see on television, from NFL to college basketball. How do we manage and handle that? So what Joe has been working with PAHA and some folks on is that if we could have this area, the anterior outside of the arena, be masked, like all of our school buildings. The concession areas where you walk in, and then when you step into the arena, have it recommended, or an area that is required or recommended, so that you could segregate people who wanted to feel more comfortable being masked. I think it's a compromise that really makes sense, and Joe brought it forth, and I think what's going to happen is Anthony's going to work on this with the athletic committee and PAHA to see if we can't make some sense out of this, so people feel comfortable, yet we can still step into a sports arena and feel the opposite. Feel like you've got a choice to be part of that that sport environment. So I mentioned at Rail Safe that you're going to be working on that with Anthony. And so that's where we are. The board wants to talk a little bit about that. I'm sure Joe knows more than I do.
Yeah, this has been something I've been swirling around in my head for a while, and kind of wanted to talk about it last meeting, but we'll talk about it now. And I think Anthony and Amy and I could probably get together with Amy's connection to HaHa and come up with a legitimate plan for this building that will work for everybody. I'm hoping that our hockey parents and our community understand that we are really trying to protect and help our kids and our fans and attendees and visitors that are concerned with their own health. So in the commons areas, if we could mask, and then like John said, when we get into the arena proper, which is the sheet of ice area, we can have mask optional, and we can have, with the size of our arena, thank you guys, we can actually have a section or two of mask required for those people that are very concerned with their health. So I think it's a good compromise. I think Amy, you and I and Woody can work on this and come up with a good plan on how we accomplish this and how we get the message out. So I thank you for bringing that to the Rail Safe, John.
The other thing that we're also working on is we want to get an environmental interpretation of what the HVAC system is in our arena. So we've reached out to the person who helped engineer this. They're no longer with Gosman and Moore. So we're hopeful to find out just how that air is circulated. It's a unique environment. You know, when we built this place, it's like building a refrigerator. 50% temperature, 50% humidity. This is what you need to keep it at. That's why you don't have fog. You know, that's why you have all these people in there, and so it might make very, very good sense that that it's pretty safe, you know, with the ventilation. So we want to make sure we know that.
And Joel, I think we can come up with something. I honestly think, and I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but we're coming up on a new year. It'd be nice to say, as of the new year, January 1st, this is the plan. Just because you know how people think it's a new year, a new start. That's just what I would suggest. But I don't know what Wood's schedule's like or what your schedule is around the holidays. But it might be, if we could, that'd be a good time.
That's a good idea, Aim. We'll talk after the meeting and we'll figure out a time with Woody that we can,
Okay.
even just a conference call or something.
Yeah.
We'll come up with something. It won't be that hard.
Yeah. And then we'd have a good start, rollout date, fresh start to the new year kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you for doing that. Any other questions or comments or things to talk about regarding the superintendent update? All right, we'll then move to item 11B, discussion of the preliminary draft calendar for the 2022 through 2023 school year. Included in your board packet are 2 drafts for discussion. We'll open it for discussion. I'll have John just provide some background. Typically, we don't approve a calendar until February, but always good to get a jump start and take a look at where things are at.
Yeah, so when we brought this out, a lot of schools have their calendar out already. Basically, what we did with Lori's help is we put corresponding dates together for next year, 2022-23. Corresponding dates lined up really, really nicely. 2 weeks at Christmas. You'll notice that on January 2nd, that's a holiday, and that is in accordance with Local 66 contract. that if New Year's Day or New Year's Eve falls on a weekend, the following Monday, if it's a Sunday, following Monday will be a holiday. The only difference in draft 2 is if we went to Local 66 and said, would you mind not having that holiday on January 2nd and we'll get out one day earlier in June? I just think I would not be in favor of that. I think at this point, draft 1 makes an awful lot of sense. I didn't share this with Local 66 and other presidents of unions. I let them know that the calendar's coming out, but I wanted to share this with you first early. It's your calendar. You set the calendar. It would be my recommendation that you look real closely at draft 1 and just give me some feedback over the next few weeks, and maybe we can adopt a calendar in January.
I honestly don't see a problem going the extra day. I'm sure my kids would probably say differently, but in all retrospect, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's not like we're going into a Monday.
Right.
The end
It's
of the
the
week.
same of
It'll
the
be
week.
fine.
It's the, yeah.
Diane, I do have a question for teachers. Have they, and maybe Gina, you also, do you like the pattern that we've put in place a few years ago where we had longer weekends, wrapping around a weekend, giving people 4 days off, or even adding the extra day for students to catch a break over MEA, over Thanksgiving? Is it giving our kids and our staff the mental break that it's intended to be, rather than having sporadic Mondays off throughout the calendar? Sorry.
Any complaints. I think families really appreciate it too. We're finding that I think there's a lot more vacationing during that time.
I was just going to ask
So-
if you've seen a reduction in kids missing school just because of vacation, because of that having.
Well, not in these days.
Well, okay, I suppose.
Not with COVID. We
Yeah,
need
but
more. We need more calendar to.
Yeah.
But I think it will help. But like I said, it's hard to tell right now. So.
Amy, do you remember, just when your kids were little, like random Mondays and Fridays
Yeah.
off around? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, it was hard. It was hard because you couldn't get, I don't think teachers could get their wheels spinning right, with a 5-day sequence of classes, or planning for those breaks, so.
Well, and I think it probably takes teachers like a whole day just to get the kids motivated after having one extra day off, so.
All right, good stuff, thank you. What was that?
They're excited to come back.
Yeah. So I'll share this, both these drafts with our staff and faculty this week, get their feedback, but it's your calendar.
Thank you.
I just have one question, because if I don't ask it, I'll probably be in trouble when I get home. Kyle would want to know if this was cross-referenced with the NASCAR season.
It is.
Perfect, thank you.
Thoughts about calendar and breaks?
I like when we have like the longer break instead of just randomly, because I do remember that like a couple years ago where we would just have a random Monday or Friday off, and sometimes it would just throw me off because I was just like, okay, 3-day weekend. I personally like the longer breaks because then I like to think, oh, 3 more weeks to go through, and then I have another 5-day break like for Thanksgiving. That's what kind of happened this year with like Thanksgiving break and now Christmas break, and then it made the time go by a little bit faster because it was like, okay, work hard for these 3 weeks, get 2 weeks off, work hard the rest of the semester, fresh start. Like it kind of like broke it up a bit. So I kind of like when they're tacked onto our breaks instead of randomly.
Great. Sorry, good point to ask now that as long as we're talking about it, I would have put it off till later, but as long as we're talking calendar, it's good to get it out. Thank you. Okay. We'll move on then, unless you want any more discussion. Public relations update. I'll just highlight a few pieces from the Proctor Journal. We always like to make sure we mention our students of the week. For November 24th was Colin Aho. December 2nd featured Maisie Roweeder. And the December 9th edition, our student of the week was Evan Bowen. Other district-supported information in each one of those issues, but we'll just highlight that one right there. Moving on to reports. Let's see here. School board committee reports. You'll see there's a policy committee report in your packet. And I don't think any other committees have met. Okay. Any questions at all about that? Enrollment report for December 2021 is in your packet. We are maintaining just fine here through the end of December. We'll see how things go at semester time. Some shuffling maybe. Communications, school board comments and observations. Any school board celebrations or otherwise? Board members?
I actually have an email that was sent to me regarding the soccer I'd like to read. I thought it was a nice email. So I'll just read it verbatim without my glasses on, so no bifocals. Would like to take a moment to express our thoughts on the Southridge Proctor Co-op for the Proctor Rails soccer team. Back in July of 2019, the school board voted to accept the co-op with a request from Southridge to make this happen. I would like to share our journey. This action personally gave our daughter, Jaden Ellison, an opportunity to try out for the sport she had passion for at Southridge and currently did not offer it. The school partnership has made it an outstanding the last 3 years. The soccer team was a pleasure to be part of for their daughter as well as a player, and myself as a varsity volunteer assistant coach. The result, endless opportunities presented themselves, not only our success, 2021 state qualifiers, Go Rails, more importantly, the friendships and community coming together as one. It was an awesome experience for our team of people to come together, regardless of the activity, sports or winning record. I am certain many will reflect on will reflect and value how our schools made it work, setting a great example for these kids to be part of. The community support was outstanding, and we always felt and feel like we are part of a Proctor team. This speaks volumes for the teachers, parents, coaches, and activity directors. I wanted to make sure that everybody appreciates to know who had a hand in it, and it takes a team. Thank you, Southridge and Proctor, for making the difference and supporting our community actions, setting this example for our community. From Mandy and Ben Ellison.
Thank you for that, Amy. Any other board comments tonight?
I need to celebrate. What day was it last week? I was fortunate enough to, is it Maya? Fortunate enough to interview some of the seniors, and so Kim was there too. She also did it. We did mock interviews with some of the students in our school, and if you want to talk about an uplifting experience, watching these kids during interviews, how they dress, how they handle themselves, how they answer questions. I would have hired every single student that I interviewed. They were wonderful. So kudos to the program, kudos to our teachers, it was absolutely amazing. I just went home and I was just floating. It was wonderful.
Was that for public speaking?
Yes, yes.
I missed out on that this year, so I'm glad to hear that you guys were able to do it because it was a lot of fun. And I was shocked at how poised and how well spoken our students were. It was a fun experience for me too.
Very nice. Thank you for that. Anything to add, Lydia?
Much more fun in person again this year. I think this was my 3rd year doing it, and last year was Zoom, so it was much better. So it was very exciting to see the students, and I think the teachers do a fantastic job. So,
Thank you. Anything else?
I just have a question or a comment. We didn't have anything in here about what do we call it in the cities? Conference.
Oh.
Did we want to talk about the conference
MSBA?
at all? I will not be attending.
I've canceled my room reservation because of work obligations and just not knowing if I'd be running to stay at a hotel for a meeting and back. So if I attend, depending what things are going on the Thursday, I'll attend during the day. It's too hard with my schedule this year.
I'm still planning on attending, but if nobody's going to go, I'm probably not going to go by myself.
So I would just be
I'm
going
going.
for Thursday, down and back.
So how about who's going and staying?
I am, and so is Jim.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I am. Yeah.
And that was my concern, and for Jim too, if he's watching at home. I don't think either one of you have been able to go to a conference. It is a great experience. I just have some worries about a big crowd gathering together, but if you guys, if that doesn't bother you, it is a really good experience. And I like pens when you go through the...
I mean,
He wants swag. He
yeah.
wants free pens.
Why want pens? I mean, I can go, and I'm still planning on going, so,
Okay.
I mean, and I'm planning on staying the night so I can guide you. You won't need much guidance. Huh? What'd you say?
Pens.
Oh, boy.
Utensils. Writing.
Make sure they don't exceed $5.
Can't go over $5. Do you know Joe won us a vacuum cleaner one year? The district. Was it? I thought it was Joe. It was Joe. Oh, I think it was.
Your mic's off. Oh.
So. All right. You're good there, everyone, for moving on then? Okay. Student liaison board member comments. Sydney.
There's a lot going on this week, right before Christmas break. I'll try to go through it quick, but we had the food drive in November for Thanksgiving through NHS, and that was a big success. I went to Pike Lake and picked up all the donations because we included the elementary schools, and I was shocked. They did a fantastic job. It made me so happy to see just like parents and kids participating in that, as long with the middle school and high school. And now we are doing the toy drive, and there's a bunch of stuff going along with that. Sophia actually did a big part of it, so I wish that she was here that she could mention it because she played a big role in it. But we are doing a coin drive between the grades, and I helped her decorate buckets for each classroom, so that was really fun. The whole NHS, I wasn't able to attend the meeting because I was sick, but I think that they all helped as well. And along with that, we also have a raffle going on, so we're selling raffle tickets. So if you see any NHS members or Mr. Westdorf and want to purchase one, they're $1 a piece, and you can win a $5 gift card to Target, Walmart, or McDonald's. So that's going on along there. We have dress-up days this week, obviously, and we have an activity day going on Friday before break. And the hallways are decorated, so if you look around the school, the hallways are decorated, and students have put so much time and effort to decorate those hallways, and it honestly makes it so festive and fun in there. It just makes the environment so much better. And then we're having a warm clothing drive through Youth in Action. One of my friends put it on, so any scarves, hats, mittens, any jackets. There's boxes in classrooms as well, so we have a ton of drives going on right now. And then I'm going to mention tonight, I came up with this idea a while ago, and I actually talked to Steve and both Kim about it. Like the past few years, a lot of us forget that for a lot of students, the school is a safe place, and there are many things in the world that can make that not feel as safe anymore. So I was really thinking, what could I do to help make this environment safer for students, and just in general of anybody going out alone by themselves or walking to their car. And I had this idea to create a self-defense class. And Steve helped me get in contact with Crystal Berg and the Hermantown Proctor community, and from there I applied for a grant through the Northland Foundation, and I ended up getting it. So now, as you may have seen, it is being advertised around the school, and in February there is a free 5-week self-defense course for students, up to 20 students. Registration is open right now, and I encourage whoever to take it just as a way to learn how to protect yourself, both boys and girls. It's more for ages probably 16 and older, just because we only have 20 students that can do it, and we want to make sure that it's going to the right students who are actually going to use this tool properly. But it's very exciting, and if you know anybody who really wants to be a part of it, they can come talk to me because I can kind of get them first dibs. But there's going to be more advertising in that, and the instructor is actually already working in the Hermantown Proctor community and teaching classes right now. And I included a little bit of martial arts into it, the program that I picked, so any students who like it and want to continue on, they have more opportunities to grow from there. So.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And happy holidays, everybody, and happy new year.
Super exciting.
Okay. Okay.
That is so
And-
awesome.
And
Thank
Sydney,
you.
you just finished up the blood drive as well.
Yes, that was at the last board meeting. I'm pretty sure we had the blood drive, maybe. I don't know if Sophia mentioned it, but yes, we just had a blood drive for NHS. I was also gone that day because I was out sick. I've been sick a lot recently, but I will talk to the committee and see how that went, and we have more coming up as well. We have, I think they're trying to do 2 or 3 more throughout the rest of the year. So there will be more blood drives coming up.
With all you do, I can see why you want those longer breaks from school.
Yes.
right? It's
Yes.
amazing though.
And Sydney, is the class open for girls only?
Nope, it's both boys and girls.
Okay.
It's small, so it's going to be very hands-on. That is what the instructor wanted. So you can really get one-on-one time, so you can really be critiquing like your techniques, and that's mainly like the purpose of the class. So it's not just a bunch of people and you're trying to like learn and watch the instructor. It's going to be very hands-on, and you can get the help that you want and learn what you want to learn.
Very nice. Thank you. Questions at all for Sydney? Not to put her on the spot, but just for conversation. Thank you again. Moving on to township and city communications. Anything to add that anyone has received info on? I don't have anything. No? Okay. All right. Number 14. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion by Amy. Is there a second? I'll make that second. Any questions or concerns? All right. Hearing none. All those are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Motion passes at 8:28. Thank you, everyone.
Who will our next generation be? What will they achieve? At Proctor Public Schools, we create an environment to educate, engage, and inspire our students to seek adventure, gain knowledge, and make a difference. Proctor Public Schools. We see greatness in our students and great things for their future. We educate, engage, and inspire